So, how to play chess openings and what are the principles? So, usually you are fighting for those 4 squares in the opening, trying to get a pawn center, develop knights before bishops, and go on from there. So, for example, e4. I created a little principles openings book, and what better to look at the 3 knights or 4 knights opening, which would be a result of the 3 knights, although black can play different moves. So, for example, e5, doing the same stuff, king's pawn opening. Also, by the way, against c5 you could play the same stuff with knight f3 attacking the pawn, knight c6 defending, knight to c3 is the I recommend this for beginners. It's tricky to play. Best move is to just develop the knight and go for the 4 knights. There is also the move bishop to b4, where you can play d4 and after takes, go into the scotch, which is pretty fine, pretty even. A different move is in that position the move knight to d4, and after knight f6 it's even. Later on there is one video where I have played this move and my opponent played knight to a5. Interesting game that was. He lost. So yeah. No, actually bishop c4 is what I used to play here, and after knight f6 I played knight to d5, but also knight to d5 immediately was the thing. But here my opponent played knight to a5, and it went on from there. Here the best move is knight takes e5. I went for knight takes b4, taking the bishop, which is also fine, but okay. The main move after bishop b4 is d4 or bishop to c4, just developing a piece, preparing to castle. So what have we learned out of this so far? You should develop as quickly as possible knights before bishops, and you can play this setup: bishop on c4, knight on f3 and c3, basically against everything black does. And here knight takes e4, little trick, because after knight takes you have d5, getting the piece back. Some people go for knight f7, for bishop f7, which is a mistake, because after king takes knight takes d5, black gets a stable center, and game might continue like this. It should be better for black, although on a lower level might be still playable for white. But if you know some stuff here, black should be better. Therefore, instead of bishop takes f7, you should go for knight takes e4, allow the fork, go back. So now black, the difference is black doesn't have those 2 central pawns, and white still has the bishop. So game should continue, or could continue, with bishop d3, because bishop takes c6 followed up, because bishop c6, pawn c6, in this position bishop c6, removing the defender of the e5 pawn, was threatened. Therefore bishop to d6, d3, developing. Interestingly, you can castle here. Also bishop g4 is a move, pinning the knight, but then you can go for something like this, and this is an interesting position. And after this I had a game where my opponent took, he lost. This is not the greatest way to do things, I think, but also lower level playable to take the knight. Queen takes and maybe go knight to d4. But okay, main move is this, and there are also other options than g4, but breaking the pin, going for this is fine. Maybe you want to go queenside at some point. So let's see. Takes, pawn takes, bishop queen e7, bishop e3, kingside, queenside. This is pretty interesting. Black could also castle queenside here. Interesting game. Probably, yeah, even with chances for both sides. So let's go back. So what do we have? So knight of 6, knight takes, d4. Here there's bishop g4, which is interesting, but after knight to g3 or knight to c3, this is that square over here, the game should be fine. If you wonder, this is a fork, and also you can't move the knight. The pin doesn't do that much, but black just blocks the pin by playing bishop e7. Still this knight is pinned and it's still a fork, so white has to give up some material, but after the smoke has cleared, white is up a pawn, so therefore white is to be preferred. But bishop g4 is interesting here instead of d takes e4. But okay, so this is the major test, knight of 6 against the 3 knights. I think before Christmas, yeah, of course, before Christmas, like 5 months ago, maybe half a year, something between this, I was the black side of this, and I played the move bishop to c5, and after knight takes, I went for bishop takes f2, and after king takes, I captured. He went d4, I give a check, he went there. And there are 2 moves here for black. Both are, yeah, well, it's a bad position for black, but both are kind of tricky. Knight g4, queen d2 is better for black because everything is coming, center, h3, everything just falls apart for black. At some point, white has the center, better development, safer king, more space. If you wonder you can't take the knight because of the queen takes pawn, this is kind of mate. You can block for one more move, but this is mate. So in the tournament I played the same idea, and he only knew knight g4, so he took the knight and I went here, and it's mate again. After bishop to e3, and yeah, I kind of tricked him in a bad position, bad opening. So, but it's still, you always have to be careful. Yeah, the main move here is knight takes e5, and after the d5 bishop d6, same stuff, but with the black side this should be fine for white. Most definitely more fine for white than for black. White is better developed, his king is ready to castle, his bishop can come out, but on lower level it's still playable for black. Also on intermediate level, on my level, it's still playable, probably also on higher level, because there was a game, also I blocked this on my blog on chess.com, where I have on my notebook a game between Rodent, kind of a weak engine but still very strong, against Fritz 18, and Fritz 18 was black and showed that it is still playable, and there are winning chances for black here as well. If you play perfectly and white makes some inaccuracies on like 2200 elo rating, it could still be playable. But anyway, let's just go back. So bishop c5 we have now covered. There is the move bishop to b4, d4 transferring in the scotch, or knight to d5. There are, as you see, there are knight d5, bishop c4, bishop d4. So we already covered this, and the last move is d6, which makes kind of sense, covering the pawn, preparing to develop the light square bishop. Then we go principled, d4. Also bishop c4 is playable, bringing the bishop out, or d4. Game could continue, knight f6, d5. Also you could take, and then after knight takes it's also fine. And after where were I? Yeah, d5, gaining some space, attacking the knight. a4, gaining some space, preparing to develop the bishop, or instead of a4 you could also go bishop c4. And yeah, white should also have the upper hand here. This bishop is blocked in. Black's king would probably be in the center for a while longer, but okay, the center is closed, which means that king in the center is not that bad. But yeah, white has more space to maneuver and bring his pieces into better positions. White has probably no bad pieces. I mean, yeah, this bishop is kind of bad, because if it goes here it looks at his own pawn, if it goes here as well it looks at his own pawn, but it could give the check there, maybe forcing bishop d7 and trade this bad bishop for this good bishop. And black would be left with this bad bishop because it has no... yeah, it's just blocked in by its own pawns. A bishop is called bad usually when it's on the same color where its own pawns. But if this bishop would be somewhere here, it's not that bad. I mean, it's outside of the pawn chain. And this is the pawn chain here. And it would do something attacking f2, but on e7 or g6 it's not really doing that much. So yeah, to sum it up shortly for one more minute, we covered quite a bit here on theory as well as principles. And yeah, basically you put your pieces like this against anything, and then, well, at some point you castle, at some point you play d3, d4, bring the bishop out, connect the rooks, yeah, etc, etc. So thanks for watching, see you next time, ciao. Principles of chess, trying to really destroy shallow blue with it. Knight here. So this is the 3 knights opening. Main moves are those things. Bishop e7, maybe one of them. Probably even d5, I don't know. No, d5, not d5. Okay, now there is the Spanish version of the 4 knights and the Italian version of it. Let's go with this. Bishop to c4. Trying to go after f7. There is knight takes e4, bishop c5, and probably bishop to b5. Not quite sure about bishop b5. Also bishop e7 an idea. Okay, goes for this, but now there is no knight e4 anymore. Okay, let's just continue developing stuff. Pawn to d3. Okay, therefore he can't still go for b5. Knight a5 is met with knight takes pawn, so this is also no good for him, so he just castles. I could develop with a pin. Might not be that bad fighting for the d5 square, but I don't really have to. I think I'm gonna go with a3, create some breathing room for the bishop. Prepare b4. a3 is directing against knight to a5 and going after my bishop. Also prepares b4. Okay, goes there as well. b4 and bishop to b2 might be quite interesting though. Is never a thing. And bishop to b2, castles f4. Getting rid of this bishop is one major goal. I could try going b5, hit the knight, and if takes I have knight takes, but then he goes bishop to b6, and I should really most definitely do such things. Castles, you can't go d5, and this is most principled, because I still don't know if I want to go bishop b2. I guess I'd rather go to e3 after d6 or b4, b5, d6. Those are the major things. Maybe bishop to g5 still an option. Okay, let's go there. Prevent bishop to g4. Now the major thing is probably this. Well, I mean, bishop d7 is also a move, but not that challenging, I guess. At least I don't know what this is doing. Okay, trying to get the f-file and more central control. Therefore, I wanna get rid of this bishop. Quick attacks, maybe. Okay, now this is very interesting stuff. Anyway, queen e3, queen g3. In some lines there might be rook takes f6. Yeah. Okay, goes after the bishop, that's fine. I mean, no problems there. Just b3 or a2, probably b3, and after a5 I can still just ignore that. Fine position. Probably also for black still, but I prefer white here, most definitely. Ideas like knight to g5, rook takes knight are in the air. Then he's probably going queen takes knight. Knight jumping in. Okay, this play here on the queen side is not really annoying me. Should I go d4 or queen e1? I mean, queen e1 takes the rook. So therefore, maybe. Okay, now I see why he did that. Because knight takes b5 would be met with some kind of knight takes b4 discoveries. Knight d5 might be an idea. Knight to g4. Knight to g4 actually quite interesting, I think. So let's say knight g5 takes on b4. I could try and ignore this by going knight to d5 takes, bishop takes. What to do? Rook takes, pawn takes. Queen h4, h6, I have nothing. So therefore this is not the way to go. Taking the pawn allows knight takes. That's also not that great. Knight to d. Probably knight to d5 is a fine move here. And if the pawn after he takes it with the knight, might have something. I mean, he can also ignore it, but in hindsight, takes it. So what about knight to g5 now? And the problem is he takes the knight with the discovery on my knight. Takes, queen takes. Well, then I have some discoveries with my knight, and his knight is gone. The thing is, my knight on g5 is not protected. Otherwise, knight g5 would be such a great move. But knight g5 is not working. After h4 it might be working, and I'm sacrificing yet another pawn. And he still has knight takes d5, so figure out the most principled approach here. I don't know, the rook is pretty nice. Sometimes I should just recapture. And after knight takes, go bishop take. Well, then he exchanges rook, so probably knight takes knight as main consideration. Knight takes knight, queen takes knight. Well, I still lose that pawn, so h4 and hoping for pawn or rook takes a3 might be the best. So, trying this. I mean, I really want to go knight to g5. I really want to go there. Come on, take on a3. Be my guest. Fine, fine. And now knight to this square. I think I got a draw, at least. I don't know. I mean, I'm threatening the knight. Rook takes knight looks pretty interesting. As well as knight takes knight, actually. But I think rook takes knight is better. Rook takes knight, pawn takes rook, queen h5. Take something like this. Oh, well. I mean, rook takes knight. I don't know. Well, something has to take this knight. Either the rook or my own knight. Probably knight takes, pawn takes, queen h5 takes. I think. Well, let's just grab it. Force him to recapture with a pawn. This bishop might kill him. It probably only secures me a draw. But because in most of the lines he has bishop e6, which is a problem, but queen h5 secures me a pretty safe draw. At least, have to say. This pawn is pinned, so there is no defense of g6, so I can just smack in there. I don't know, maybe it's winning for white. It's at least a draw. I mean, I have h6, g6 stuff going, but I can also just take on f6, trying to go for the kill, for the throat. Don't know. I mean, bishop e6, something for him. Some point I might be taking on this square, opening up the f file. So what about rook takes? Isn't rook takes winning for me? Don't know. Let's see. Rook takes pawn. Bishop e6, only move. Don't see another one. Don't know. Bishop there. Rook takes, pawn takes, bishop takes. Should be pretty fine for me. Currently I'm down a knight and a couple of pawns stuff, but anyway, rook takes should be the best. I had to draw in hands. But oh wow, what? So desperate, sacrificing the queen. Okay. Probably the attack was crushing. I also haven't seen a defense. Now he has this a pawn, which is pretty annoying. And he goes bishop to e6. Okay, I can win that pawn. Can also let this stuff happen. Like, what about takes? Bishop takes, pawn takes. I mean, I don't have to grab the pawn actually. I can just blockade everything, go king f2, rook there, and mate him. I think that's kind of better. At least it's not worse. I mean, what did he get for it? Rook and knight and some pawns with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. No. Only rook and knight. Most definitely I should take this pawn now. Okay, what to do? I mean, king f2 is pretty nice here. King f2. Rook e6. Okay, I see. Okay, let's push that. trying to get takes and mate in, but okay, he's probably going to take or just defend. Okay, rook f. Well, I don't know. I mean, he still has this annoying counterplay. At least I'm threatening stuff with rook f1, threatening to grab with check and do a lot of damage. And if he takes, I can take rook g8. I have a check on d6, might be able to push. I don't think his a-pawn is going to save him. Might be saving him. Oh, also g6 might be an idea. Rook to g6, pawn. Well, then he has this. Okay, let's grab. I mean, after all, this should still be pretty decent. Queen to e6, so he has to go to the h-file, and then rook f3 is threatening a checkmate. How to defend? Or rook f5, what's the difference? I don't know, I think f3 is a bit safer. Rook there, don't know, gonna go to f3. Okay, he gets completely desperate now. Well, this is a free rook, and well, why am I thinking here? I mean, I'm just going there. What's the quickest way? Rook to f6 check, probably. I don't know. I mean, there are many ways now. There are simply a lot of ways to win. Let's go with the slow stuff. King g3, just take away squares and it's over. Right, that was a fight, I have to say. But anyway, I won against this program, finally. Let's go through it. I mean, I just played for the principles here. Knights before bishops, trying to develop the other bishop, making some breathing room, opening up the f-file, which proved to be decisive. After all, h4, I'm not sure about this. Not sure about here. The position should be in the balance, but not sure about this. Anyway, I'm going to analyze this, and I am going to make an analysis of this game and opening. Anyway, thanks for watching. See you there. So this is the statistic of the game. I had an accuracy of around 90.2%. One brilliant move, one blunder, as you see there. He was winning after my blunder. Well, maybe not winning on a rating of around 1300 or something, but above he was really winning, because he could have had a passed pawn and extra material, but he blundered directly into my idea, as you see there. He played a move which was h6, attacking the knight, and then I made my brilliant move, which was queen to h5, and afterwards it was over for him, and yeah, he lost, but he could have gotten a winning position there. But you will see this in the analysis, so see you there. So welcome to the analysis of that game. Yeah, as you saw in the principles video, I tried to play like this, so I played knight to c3. There are other moves possible, like bishop to c4 in this position, bishop c4 the Italian game, or bishop to b5 the Spanish, or d4 the Scotch. But I played knight to c3, now we have the 3 knights game, and after knight to f6, which is the best move, and also the most principled moves, because as I explained in the first part of the videos, you should develop knights before bishops. Yeah, other moves are bishop to b4, but they are all inferior to knight to f6. d6 is something I briefly mentioned, and also bishop to c5. And there is also all the time some weird stuff like every other move. And yeah, so knight f6, bringing the bishop out, sometimes going after f7. If this king is castled, then the pawn would be pinned. And as you saw in the game, in the live game before, this was kind of important. And if this Italian or Chocopiano bishop survives too long and you have an attack going, then it's usually decisive, or it at least can be decisive. So bishop c5 does the same stuff, puts the bishop on the most active square. There is also the bishop coming in here, but then you might have knight d5 at some point. You can castle, go d3 or d4, or at some point attack the bishop. So you would be happy if he gives it up for the knight, so you gain the bishop pair. And after bishop a5 you have this kind of expansion on the queen side, gaining some space there, maybe putting the bishop on b2, playing for f4 to open up this diagonal towards the king. Maybe, well, anyway, there are a lot of ideas. So he went bishop to c5. Yeah, I played d3, so that my pawn here is covered. In some lines I might have knight to a4 to hunt down the bishop. Some other lines I might have f4 to open up the rook's file, and yeah, a lot of ideas. So he castled, h6 was an alternative. I played a3. There are other moves in the position, like bishop to g5, but a3 is nice. Prepares to move b4, also get some retreat square for the bishop in hands of knight a5. So he plays a6, trying to get some room for the bishop on a7. So b4 and maybe knight to a4. We've taken the bishop, doesn't mess up his structure, and it also saves the bishop. So I went to b4. Excellent move. Knight d5 is an alternative. Went back. Of course, I castled. This is also nice. Bishop e3 is an alternative, and he went d6. So first, a couple of moves before, he went bishop to c5, and now he went d6. So the bishop is outside of the pawn chain and is doing something, whereas on e7 it would do not that much. Although bishop to e7 in those Spanish or Italian games is also fine, but okay. This is nice for black and also nice for white currently, and still the game is in the balance. I played h3, not to prevent knight to g4, which could also be interesting in some lines, but rather preventing bishop to g4, which would then pin the knight, and prepares knight to d4, go after the pinned piece. And yeah, but also in this position, instead of bishop g4, in some lines there is also knight to g4, preparing f5 and get some attack going with all those open lines and files. But this Italian bishop pins the pawn still, so you would need one more preparation move for doing such things. So yeah, as I said, I played h3 to prevent bishop to g4, and yeah, okay. Also in some lines knight g4. Anyway, he played bishop to d7. b5 is an alternative here to kick the bishop, but he did this later, and bishop e3 in some lines as well. e6, but after bishop e6, if your opponent hasn't played h6, or if it would be different, h3. Anyway, bishop e6, you can take, and go knight g4, hit the pawn, and if this pawn, well, I can quickly show you this, takes, and knight g4, g5. The game is still kind of in the balance here, but with this coming, it's pretty nice. Also bishop e3 then, and after the recapture you have pressure on the f-file. Game is still in the balance, if not for knight g5. Bishop e3 is also not winning or something for white, it's just an even position, but I'd prefer white here a bit, just because of this weakness on e6. But if black gets in d5, d5 takes, he would have this pawn center, which you could attack, but probably after d5 you don't take, you let him take and isolate his pawns. Well, let's just briefly make some moves. Let's say it's black's move. He goes d5, you don't take, because this would allow something like this, and black solved its problems. You would probably just ignore it and play something like queen to e2. Well, this the engine doesn't like at all. Of course, because of this. Sorry. So, sorry, I have to go back. Pressed the wrong button. So where we were, h3. Yeah, h3. If bishop here, then after knight g5 the game is in the balance. Bishop e3 is also an alternative to this, and after d5 you'd have to take the bishop, because otherwise d4 would fork those two pieces. So therefore you should take the bishop, and as you saw, this was probably not even best. And here rook takes a7, of course, knight takes, and knight in the edge is like the worst thing where the knight can be, so therefore this could be something. And now maybe rook e1, or at some point maybe knight g5, game continues. Of course you don't take, because this is ideal for black. This is what black wants. The game would still be kind of in the balance, but anyway, you kind of like black to take you. So as you see on the balcony here, this is quite bad. And if you go in the endgame, for example, rook takes, maybe black can hold this, but with those isolated pawns here, only white can be better. As you see there, white is a bit better here, +1, although material is even. Okay, anyway, let's go back to the game. He played bishop to d7, bishop e6 an alternative, as well as b5, but okay, I went bishop to e3, knight d5 is also fine. Knight d5 is in those Gioco Piano Italian games, as well as Ruy Lopez stuff, always a theme. Kind of want this also in some Sicilian lines. Anyway, I played bishop to e3, game in the balance. After knight to d5, as you see here, the game would also be in the balance. And this is only depth 20 on Stockfish 12, and I also analyzed this with Stockfish 14.1 and also with my notebook, so which is for one a better engine because it's a newer one than Stockfish 12. Yeah, Stockfish 14.1. Anyway, and it has a better depth than this engine here on chess.com, but still. Yeah, he went bishop takes e3, I went pawn takes, now the f-file is open. As you see later, this can be proved decisive if black doesn't play accurate enough. He went b5, hits the bishop, I went back, and now a5. Yeah, knight to e7, followed up with knight coming in here at some point, or preparing d5 even more, is an alternative. Okay, it's also a theme in those kind of Italian games. The knight going here and to g6, fighting for f4 and h4. More likely fighting for f4. And for white, it's sometimes the same stuff, going here, going to f8, going here, or going there, and to g3, same stuff. On g3 you would fight for the f5 square, but the knight on c3 in those Choco Piano games, quiet games, the knight sometimes wants to get to g5. In some lines this knight would be pinned to the queen, so yeah, some ideas possible. Anyway, let's continue. Knight to d5 I played, and after a b4, which is excellent, knight takes d5 is an alternative. Anyway, both moves are equivalent, probably. I played a pretty bad move, but I was kind of desperate a bit, and this was my only mistake in the game, or blunder. And as it happens, you play a good game, and then you make one mistake, and either your opponent takes advantage of this, or you get back in the game, or at sometimes it's you even win or make some brilliant stuff and crush your opponent. And I played h4 because knight to g5 is not working immediately. If it would, then this is kind of what white wants, but it doesn't work because the knight here would be undefended, and then black just takes here and the queen would gobble up the knight. So therefore I prepared it in the knowledge of I am losing a pawn and my attack is probably not working, but I also knew that if black plays a bit inaccurate, then I'd crush him. And as it happens in the game, as you saw, I destroyed him a couple of moves later. Best would be to take back, but I didn't do this because of rook takes, queen takes, and knight takes d5, pawn takes d5, and this pawn has no guard. And I thought I'm losing this pawn, but in fact this is a blunder because queen a3, and the knight has nowhere to go and is trapped. The bishop covers this, and yeah, white would be winning, or yeah. So if I had seen queen a3 trapping that knight, I would have gone for this. And yeah, after the game I let my notebook in this position here, and Stockfish, the latest development version of it, so the best engine currently till this date, recommends here the move knight to e7 and Deep Ripka 4.1, which was the best engine in 2010 or 11, don't quite know. Anyway, good engine, also something like 3000 elo, still 500 points below Stockfish approximately. Anyway, knight to e7, the game continued with this, and I'll shortly take you through the game. Here the game is still in the balance. On greater depth this is the best move, g6. Unclear position, but Deep Ripka 4.1 played queen f8, which is the first inaccuracy here, and the critical position where I would say white has some kind of advantage, or a huge advantage, is here, because compare those bishops, compare just the position. White's king is more safe, the rook is doing a bit more than this rook, but this rook is still the best piece which black has. White might be able to create a passed pawn here, and the queen is passive, the bishop is passive, this bishop is like the best piece in white's position, and the queen's comparison is also in white's favor. So yeah, I would prefer white here, and also white is better here, if not winning. on higher depth with a better Stockfish version. Anyway, black just shuffled because black can't really do much, and after this, yeah, black isn't doing that much, and white just pushes the h-pawn forward. And how should I put it? Sometimes you win by just improving your position. And this is all Stockfish did here the last couple of moves. Material is in the balance, but this b-pawn is just better than everything in black's position. This h-pawn is a menace. And yeah, game continued with this, and black just completely fell apart, gave up the queen, and after a couple of more moves, this is kind of funny, promoting to a knight, because it's a bit better than queen, because now queen g2 is mate, and whatever black does, queen g2 is coming. In fact, black only has one move, and that's king g8. Here, this is actually a fine trick by black, because if white promotes here to a queen, then it's stalemate. It's not check, but it's stalemate. So king has nowhere to go. Oh well, this area I don't need. Queen has nowhere to go. All those squares are covered. He is in the box. Would be mate next move, but yeah, can't move, isn't in check, so it's a draw. So therefore, Stockfish 14.1 of course played this. Now black has one available move, and this is king to this square, and the knight covers g2, so it's mate. So the theory which I discovered here in help of the computer, after g6 black is probably able to hold, but white is for choice. At least I would say this. Anyway, so I played h4, which is bad, because not really because of this. Best is here to take it with the rook. This is best on higher depth. And after knight f6, pawn f6, and queen to d2, black is probably much better. Of course, you take here with the g-pawn, not going into any kind of discoveries. Yeah. Here, after queen to d2, black is better, has more material, more power over the a file, and of course I don't really, I really never want to take this because of the pawn takes. I mean, this pawn is just a monster, and black is here. Black is probably winning here, maybe on like 1000 ELO rating. This is still kind of playable, but higher I'd say black would win, or at least white struggles a lot. Anyway, he played b takes a3, and after knight to g5, which is not best, but kind of nice, because yeah, otherwise I'd probably be able to hold, but I would suffer a lot. But after knight g5, if black doesn't play accurate, white wins. Knight to g4 was the only winning move for black in this position, because now queen can't reach the h5 square, and the knight is very well protected. White's position here looks kind of nice, but in fact black can defend his kingside, and with this a-pawn black should have the advantage, but on lower rating, like even on I'd say 1400 or maybe 1300, this is still in the balance. I mean, who knows. Anyway, on the higher level black should be better here, and knight b6 this is so crazy. Great move. Pawn b6, rook f7, knight f7, hitting the queen. Knight here now takes on e5. This covered check from the bishop. I mean, whoever understands this. And this is a line queen can take because the bishop is pinned to the king. Bishop takes, knight takes. In between move, hitting the queen. Queen takes, now knight back, hitting the bishop. Bishop returns, and queen e3. I mean, or knight f5 is an alternative on how death queen g3 is better. But anyway, I mean, material is even. Both have 6 pawns and knight versus bishop. I'd prefer black here just because of the bishop and the pawn on a3. But if you compare the structure of the pawns, like white has 2 pawn islands and black has 3, and there is an isolated pawn, doubled backwards pawns here, easy targets. But what makes black's position better is again the pawn on a3 and this bishop, which covers also a2. So only black can be better here, but white can hold. But just to recap this, I mean, knight to g4, knight to b6, hitting the rook, I mean, and going out of the way of the bishop's diagonal, just to just to be able to play rook takes, and after rook takes, knight takes. And this crazy stuff, knight takes e5, this covered check, I wouldn't see this, but okay. And probably you'd only see stuff like this if you're above like 1900 and sacrificing is your playing style. Then you would probably recognize something like this, and this should hold for white. So he played h6, trying to kick my knight, but now I took with check, can't take with the queen, otherwise the rook takes the queen. So he took back, and now the queen comes in. He takes the knight, doesn't matter with which pawn, and here, as you see, bishop to f5, just giving away material right away is the way to go for black. But as you see there, and as your logic tells you, this can't be the way to go if you want to hold a draw. So yeah, this is unstoppable. Queen here, king there, queen here, king there, only move. And now rook takes. This is not even best. Best is to take the pawn, go king f2, rook h1, and mate on the h file somewhere. But this is sufficient to win the game, because now black has to give up the queen, because any other move, like let's say bishop to e6, results in queen g5 and rook h6 mate. Same stuff if the king would stand here. And I haven't even spotted this. I was planning to sacrifice the bishop, but I probably would have spotted it if he had played this. Anyway, he no, not again, sorry. He played queen takes f6. I took with the queen, and now I just, yeah, from here on it's just a mop-up chop. I mean, I'm constantly threatening mate, and yeah, it's over. He resigned, so thanks for watching. See you next time. Okay, let's go with the second game of this thing. Going with the principles. Knights b4 bishops. And quick development. Main move is this. Bishop to b5 is straight, but now I can hunt the bishop. Yeah, you should not do this. It's against the chess principles, but bishop c4 is probably excellent as well here. But knights are a bit better than bishops, and this was threatening to take and take the pawn here. So he retreats. c3, d4, getting the center is nice. Rapid development, and castling is also nice. I guess I'm going with this. Knight to f6 and d3 is fine. To take is a mistake, because it would only help him develop, get his queen out. d6 is a fine move here as well. Knight e7. h3 is weird, because now I have this, and this is a theme. No, I don't have this, because this comes with an attack on the bishop. So therefore going with the principles and just castle, bring the king to safety. Now he goes with knight to f6. Okay, I could take or go rook here, because the pawn is attacked, the rook defends the pawn, and if he takes, he would lose a guard of the knight and the e-pawn would drop. Now fighting for the center, c3, d4, bishop g4, fine idea. h3 therefore is also kind of interesting. Knight a5 going after the bishop, I have this. Fine. Queen here, still d4, going for the center. If he takes, I'm going probably knight takes, undouble my pawns, prepare the entrance for my queen. I might have knight to e6 here. Probably not there because he castled, but would have been interesting. Queen f3 to g3 is an idea. Trying to go bishop takes h6 because the pawn will be pinned. Developing minor pieces before major pieces, but this comes with an idea. He also plays principled, very good moves. Let's recap this. Position should be balanced. Don't know if knight to d5 is best in the opening. Probably bishop c4 is also fine, but this is nice as well. Takes is probably his best bet. Takes probably best. Yeah, what is he thinking? Bishop d7, no. I think takes is the principled way to do it, doubling my pawns. Maybe, I don't really see a different kind of idea. Takes where to put the bishop, maybe bishop f5 something, but he has no target. I already moved the c-pawn. c6 is nothing because too much pressure on it, and it would also be a bad move because it would open up my bishop. Takes the knight, of course, as I mentioned. This should be the move. So, I think bishop pair compensates for the doubled isolated d-pawn. Doubled IQP, d-IQP, doubled isolated queen's pawn. Knight here, okay, fine move, what can I say? What to do with that bishop? That's a huge question. Rook e6? Maybe I have the queen here. I have rook e6, takes, and I take the knight. Threatening this, threatening stuff like this. Threatening takes, wow, maybe ideas. What is he trying to do here? Rook e6, what is it threatening actually? Probably nothing. Looks cool. Shouldn't do it though. Well, maybe now. Maybe now. Rook e6 takes. Don't know. Okay, goes after the d-pawn. Well, rook e6, pawn takes. What am I doing? Not much. Rook going here, covering the pawn. I don't know. Interesting stuff. Bishop e3 to d5 at some point. Well, maybe bishop here. I don't know. He takes this. Let's play sensible. Defend the weakness. Develop a piece. I wasn't sure what to do with the bishop. Anyway, rook to e8, bishop to d7, Bishop to f5, probably bishop f5. Maybe a6, b5, bishop b7. But bishop f5 should be probably pretty nice. Rooks belong on half-open files, so I'm probably just going there. One rook is on an open file and the other one on a half-open file, also covering the bishop. I have two bishops versus knight and bishop, which is an advantage for me, but he has two weaknesses to go about. But this bishop, I don't know, b5, a5 might be something, but bishop rerouting to this diagonal, also fine. You should think not, I do this, what is he doing? Okay, he does this. You should envision stuff a bit more. So, and think about diagonals and lines and principles and stuff more than calculating, because, yeah. Okay, what is he trying to do? Rerouting the knight. So bishop here to bishop there might be something. Also, I'm hitting this pawn, covering the c6 square again. Well, doing this, bishop h3 would work if the queen wouldn't be there, but the queen is here, probably rook there, rook lift going in like this. c6, I don't know, rook there is fine. Knight f4, okay, what to do? I don't want to go there, because takes would open up the sky. Although the bishop here is undefended. Huh. Queen here. Takes and takes, but this doesn't really do that much. Probably I should go there and take the queen, mess up his structure, go and take with the rook. With this rook, probably go after the e file. If he ever plays c6, this diagonal will be opened up. So therefore, if takes, I'm going to take the queen, transforming the game into an endgame where I think I am better. Probably not, probably not. The other option, okay, he played rook fe8. Okay, fine, 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 fine. Still keeping up the tension. Still, there is no immediate danger. Don't know, gonna go there, doubling on the c file, going after his weakness. This is a backwards pawn. Not sure. It would be if the pawn would be there, if we were accurate in chess terms. I think this is called a backwards pawn. I don't know. Anyway, so going against the Turkish guy. Plays well. 3 knights opening. The move bishop to b4. I'm interested in the analysis of that game. Maybe I use it, maybe I cut it away. But I want to have 5 games where I go with the principles. What is he doing? 425. Goes with the move c6. Okay, let's take. Of course I take. Now I got rid of this weakness. I opened up the diagonal. I think this was a bad decision. If bishop takes, I have e4. Maybe. Yeah, so he goes c6. e4? No, e4 is not that great, because maybe c5 stuff. Okay, I could make this a backwards pawn then. But okay, what to do? I have pretty fine position. Probably bishop a4, pinning the pawn and just going after it. So now I attack the pawn, and the bishop here is undefended. Takes the queen, mess up his structure and take this. So now I don't have an IQP. Okay, this is a backwards pawn. It's already targeted. That's why rook should be on those files, because if positions transform, it's fine. But now the king covers the pawn. In the end game, you should activate the king. He still isn't able to move the pawn. So there is no counter pin because the pawn is also covering this. So now I am up a pawn in a rook's endgame, and I have a much better structure. Goes to the d5. So now I'm going after a7. And now d5. He can't cover both weaknesses. Wow, this is an easy win, because just my pawns are not isolated and weak. They can defend each other, whereas his pawns, they can't. And I'm taking this instead of that, because now I have two connected passed pawns on the queen side, which will win me the game. Easiest way to do it is to bring the king all the way. Okay, g4, I don't know, so he doesn't have that much counterplay. Probably going there. Okay, what's the winning plan? Okay, let's go and push the pawn. If the pawn reaches this, okay, still can push. Still, I'm able to push. a4, a5. Well, the simplest way of doing stuff is usually, in those kind of things, is usually just to push your advantage to victory. He has too much weaknesses to cover all the time. He's down material and I have two connected passed pawns, so easy win in the end game. What is this rook trying to do? So push. Rook here, anyway, just go back. Rook here, I don't care. I'm gonna go there and there. And this even comes with check, so what to do? Well, this also comes with check, but it doesn't matter. Well, winning plan, a6, cover the pawn, go there, cover the square, and push. What to do? What to do? What to do? Now, as I said, this is bad. Promote, and the worst, I have a second one. Okay, he resigns. I'm really interested in the analysis of that game though. And at some point I hope I get a Sicilian in, or with white playing against the Sicilian, to show against the move c5 after e4. Well, accuracy of 89.3. I was never worse. Pretty fine game, as you see. If you just go for the principles, you can get everything, usually. Okay, this was the second game. Black. I actually want to skip black. I hope I am white. Okay, thankfully, normally this doesn't work. Okay, e4, e5, knight to c3, knight to c6, knight to c3. Bishop c5 is a mistake, because here you have the tactic knight takes e4. And this is not great for black. I had a tournament game, I played bishop f2, which is also not that great for him, so best is bishop t6 takes, and bishop to d3. Isn't much else to do. Maybe I don't have to go bishop to d3. Maybe f4 is also something, but just going with the flow, going with the principles. Okay, he goes to b6. Well, have to get back my material, therefore I'm going to take. Okay, he attacks this, bishop e3 doesn't work, just takes, the pawn is pinned, he threatens mate, and therefore I have to protect with the queen. Most sensible square is queen to f3, because it's not blocking the bishop. If I had gone here, it's kind of going after f7, so now I have this idea to go after f7, developing a piece with a threat. What to do? Knight h6, probably snap and take, and probably castles this direction. Pretty good position for me. Pretty good position. A fine idea with this queen h5, but it's not within the chess principles. Minor pieces development before Major pieces development. Major pieces being queen and rooks, and minor pieces knights and bishops. So what to do? I mean, takes is not good. Knight f6 is not possible. So bishop e6 and knight a6. Bishop e6, knight a6, I don't know, probably takes this next. Takes, well, I don't know, maybe going here might be an alternative, but taking is also fine, I think. Takes, and go bishop f4 with the target. Well, then it goes, okay, I see stuff. Takes, fine, going here. So now those pawns, he has more central pawns, but they don't have backup. They're hanging pawns, therefore. Just hanging around, being connected. Bishop here going after this one. If e5, I'm gonna hit the queen. And then I castle, hit the pawn again. Fine position, finished development. Whereas he still has to figure out what to do. Well, this knight is probably coming to... Oh, wow. Fine move. So I can't castle into check. So this is a fine idea. Probably castles kingside. Okay, h5. Threatening h4, so I should go h4 myself, or also creating some breathing room for my king, attacking the queen. If this queen would be on a different square, like on e2, he would have queen takes g3, because the pawn here is pinned. This is an illusion, an elusive defense of the pawn. Okay, going after the bishop, probably putting the knight on d5. As I said, this is a theme, but he has knight here, but I can take the bishop. Mess up his structure, create weaknesses. Also, then I'd be able to play f4, open the position, with his king still being in the center. Wow, he goes here. Whew. That's going in, castling into check. What? So king here and a4? What to do? a4 immediately? I don't know. No. Going here. Giving this... I'm an idiot! Couldn't do this. No, this is defended by his horse. Okay, fine. So, well... a4, threatening a5. Rook there. Might be something. Goes here. So, b4. Well... I give this check. And then I go a5, sacrificing the rook. So he only has this square, and then I show... Well, he just resigned. Yeah, of course he resigned. Well, I planned this, and if he takes the rook, knight here check, takes, and there is no stopping this. But of course he resigned. I mean, queen here... He has to go there, and then his back rank made it. So this is the power of the knight on d5. Just show you, made no mistake there. Again, going with the opening principles. Got the winning position probably right out of the opening. So let's just see. No chance from my opponent. Yeah, 88.1 again. Just going with the principles. Was winning all the time after the opening. So it's a good opening, those two knights, bringing out those two knights. Well, fine. So, new game, always fine, opening is fine. Also against the Sicilian, I hope for this. So, yeah. And we have the 3 knights again, I hope for knight of 6, yeah, it's major, it's main. So now bishop c4. This is the critical test. I analyzed this. Here you can go there. Castles is also fine. Knight takes, takes, and takes. Maybe some lines c3, d4 is coming up. Go for the center. Wow, what is this, man? What is this? Goes crazy about the position. Goes crazy about the position, hitting that bishop. Maybe bishop to d3. I know it's blocking the pawn. I mean, I haven't covered this. It's interesting, I have to say. Knight takes, and d3. Knight to d6. Knight takes e5. So I guess I win a pawn. I guess I win a pawn here. Yeah, so gonna go for it. Gonna go for it. d3. Well, there is no way for him to defend, and now this might be coming in some lines. c5, e5, bishop to g5, knight back. You shouldn't move the pieces that often, so bishop g5, trying to come in, h6, I don't know what is this? What is this? Knight back. Interesting, interesting. I could jump around. Knight here. Probably knight here is a bit smarter because e5 is coming. Knight d5 is coming, everything is coming my way. Hitting the knight. Okay, let's grab. So pawn takes pawn, bishop here, hitting the rook. So fine stuff. I don't even know if I want to... Wow. Shattered king's position. Knight queen f6. And castles. Knight to d5. Probably a bit better because now knight takes f6 with the fork is coming. So castles. Probably also fine. If you have clear attacking things to go for, you don't have to what do I want to say? You don't have to follow the principles all the time if you have some clear targets or a winning move or something. Okay, this of course blunders the pawn with an attack on the knight, although then he has this, gets back the pawn. Take with this, then he has this, maybe knight here coming up. I don't know, probably queen here is pretty strong. Don't. Goes to the corner. I take... well, I think it's still fine because he can't move. This is a move, probably. This is a move. This is a move, yeah, but Knight is hanging, he wants to go there, so I really want to take this away. And if the knight moves, I go there with check, his king is in the box. So knight here might be something, still queen here pinning that knight. Putting a rook on the open file, probably this rook. Don't know, both rooks in the center. His position is terrible. Wow, what? Okay, only move f6 then. Queen to d4 check. f6, knight f6, it's over. Pretty much over. Man from Mongolia. Then I have my 5 white games for this opening. Yeah, 19 moves. He went for this and he resigned. No, he abandoned. Anyway, it's pretty much the same stuff. Okay, let's quickly go and analyze. I think again around 90%, maybe more. Oh, 72 only, but still, wow, what? Still, yeah, I was winning pretty much all of the time. So let's go to this point. Knight takes d3. This is what I thought I should play. What's best here instead of d3? d4, hitting in the center, striking immediately. So if takes, you have e5, queen e7 and castles, b3 and bishop here, although queen comes with an attack on the knight. Yeah, it's not winning or anything after d4, both moves are possible. He played this and I took, which is not the greatest. The best would... oh yeah, the best is d4, but it's not that... yeah, best is again d4, wow. Well. But he blundered away with castles. Bishop g5, not the best, but still good. Knight back, and then I just completely demolished him. Okay, fine. Thanks for watching. See you next time. Ciao.